Hey, what's going on, trade engineer? Welcome to the NV3 Trader Classroom, providing you the tools and tips to help you unlock the master trader within. I'm Rob, and I will be your instructor for today's lesson. All right, so in today's video, what we're going to talk about is the volume profile within Sierra chart primarily. I'm also going to show it to you in TradingView as well as in NinjaTrader, right? So let's go ahead and jump right into this video without further ado. So if you have been tuning into my my live streams that I do every Monday and Wednesday, you should already have be familiar with how I use the volume profile. Actually, the volume profile is a key proponent of my overall trading strategy. So it's something that I've discovered recently this year, and I really I rely on the volume profile a lot for my entries, as well as some other things. Just looking at the overall picture of the market and getting a idea of what the market sentiment is, right? All right, so kind of what I alluded to before, the main purpose of today's lesson is to go over briefly, the volume profile and how I set the volume profile up within Sierra chart, as well as kind of how I use it and what I'm looking at, in terms of the volume profile. If you want me to go into more detail, or if you have questions, go ahead and leave your comments and your questions below in the comment section below this video. If you want me to do a complete breakdown of the volume profile, I can definitely do that. Just go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. But in the meantime, until you get that urge to hit that, to hit up the comment section, let's go ahead and jump into this video and this lesson, and let's get into the volume profiles. All right, so what we're going to start with is, what are the volume profiles? All right, so I pulled this screenshot here up from TradingView of the definition. I'm going to go ahead and maximize it and see if I can go full screen with this. All right, there we go. So we can see it. All right, so what is the volume profile? I'm just going to read this definition real quick. I'm not trying to insult your intelligence or anything. I'm just roll with me. All right, so volume profile is an advanced charting study that displays trading activity over a specified period of time or specified time period at specified price levels. The study, accounting for user-defined parameters such as number of rows and time period, plots a histogram on the chart meant to reveal dominant and/or significant price levels based on volume. Essentially, volume profile takes the total volume traded at a specific price level during a specific time period and divides the total volume either by volume or sell volume, and then makes the information easily visible to the trader. All right, so what does all that really even mean? So that's a really nice way of saying that the volume profile basically just shows you at what price level most of the volume is occurring, right? So at what price do we have a lot of buying and trading, going on? So I'm gonna pull up a chart real quick. Actually, I don't have to do that. It's right. They provided a chart right here conveniently for us. All right, so we can look over here. We got the volume profile on the right. We can see, the change of volume as, in relation to the price, right? So what happens here, now I've heard this explained, let me just say the most recent way that I've heard this explained, just looking at other people's, thoughts and opinions about it. Let's just say right here at 460, you can see we have some increased volume between 460 and 440. And one way we can see the volume profile would show us that we had some sellers come in here and push the market down at this time right here. However, that's right, but at the same, what's really going on is just all the volume profile is showing you is the amount of transactions that happen at each price. It's not necessary. It doesn't necessarily mean, so if I'm looking at this right here in May, right, and I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that the volume start to pile in, it doesn't necessarily mean that those are sellers that are coming in, right? It could be buyers as well. Just because the overall sentiment is bearish, it does not mean that there are sellers, coming in at these price levels right here. It's just the number of transactions, buy and sales that are happening at these prices, right? So We're gonna get into more of that. We're gonna get into that a little bit more later on into this video. I don't want to I want to just continue with the flow of how I got everything. So I got my iPad right here to kind of help me stay structured and in line and not get off on tangents and all of that good stuff. So why is this, how is this even useful if it's only, just showing you, it's not necessarily showing you what kind of trading is happening right there. It's just showing that trading is happening at those levels. Why is that even, what makes the volume profiles, so useful? Well, basically the short answer to that is history tends to repeat itself, right? So the nature of the human being, traders are just human beings, right? It's just people that are in the market, what I'm saying, whether that's retail traders, whether that's institutions or market makers or just people with a lot of money or whatever it is. Even algorithms, the algorithms are developed by human beings. The human beings, they have whatever they're looking at in the market, and they develop a program or algorithm that automates the way that they see the market and how they want to react to it. All right, so with that, with all that being said, people are creatures of habit, and we like to follow trends, and we like to follow patterns, right? We like to do what the crowd is doing. For the most part, most people like to follow the crowd, and they like to follow the trend. So when you're looking at the volume profile, you can see that where we have a lot of volume piling up, at a certain price, we can see that every time we come to those prices, we have a sell-off. So if we're looking at this chart right here, we can see that and in fact, let me bring up my pen tool. All right, so once we come up here, let's just say we're looking at this 460 range right there. So you can see that every time the price trades up here, and let's say like this is the current date, this is not, this is just only there. This is not we can actually go to a regular chart later on. But let's just say this is the day that we're looking at right in here, right? With this is use your imagination, and all of this over here to the right of this little green squiggly thing that I drew right there, it doesn't exist, right? All right, so let's just put our imagination caps on. Let's just use our imagination, right? This is blank, okay? All you see is this over here, okay? So when we're looking at and we're seeing the volume, load up at these, price levels, and we see this right here. So what we can assume is, let's say, this volume profile already, is starting to, the volume is starting to load up here and here. So what we can do is we can assume that since we do see that we had some buyers here that were taken out. So we can assume that, there may be some selling that happens again at this price level. There may be some sellers that that come back in again at this price level, at this 440 price level, and so forth and so on. And the market overall, a lot of traders are going to be looking at that and thinking the same thing, like, okay, right here we had a lot of selling. We had a lot of sellers come in and push the market down. So maybe it'll happen again. So I'm gonna go ahead and position myself to take advantage if that happens again. Now what most traders do is they won't just if all of this doesn't exist, let's say all of this doesn't exist, they won't just blindly put a order right there. What they'll do is maybe they'll have a trigger at the most, and they'll wait for price to trade up into this level and show a sign of the possibility for it to continue lower, and then they'll place their order and then take the ride down. However, if you have a risk defined strategy to where you can get up in there a little bit higher, where you get in right in there somewhere, and you using the volume profile, and then once the masses come in and start selling after they have already seen their confirmation, by the time they even enter in the trade, you're already in profit, and their orders are moving you more into profit, right? If you're taking it short, right? So that's just a quick little breakdown. I could talk about this stuff all day, but that's just a quick little breakdown of why and how the volume profile is so useful, and why it's such a useful indicator. Now you can add some more things to it to just to refine, like I don't use volume profiles as by themselves. I use it with a mixture of things. And of course, if you tune in to sound the bell, my live stream every Monday and Wednesday, you can see, I'm completely transparent over there. I'm like basically, and even if you go to the journal, like I've basically showed you my complete strategy, my plan, and all of that stuff. All right, so let's keep it moving. Now, so before we, move, into actually looking at an actual chart, before we go to the Sierra chart part of it, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. All right, so, all right, don't tell nobody I'm telling you this. All right, this is between me and you. All right, so if you look at the volume profile, right? Okay, we got this nice little volume profile over here on the right. And you can see we got some areas like where we have a lot of volume coming in, even in there. Right here, this would probably be the point of control. You got right there. Even where we don't have much volume at all, these areas are called, these are the key areas of the volume profile. So the secret is the volume profiles tends to also line up with support and resistance areas. Right? It's not always perfect, of course. Nothing in the market is always perfect, but they do tend to kind of line up with the volume, with the support and resistance areas, right? So, okay, that's not really a secret. Anybody can look and see that, that's how it works. The support and resistance is actually formed by, the actual trading that happens, where you get, right here we got resistance because a lot of sellers came in. You didn't have enough buyers to keep pushing the market higher, so the sellers pushed the market lower. That's basic support and resistance 101. So, okay, that's not really much of a secret. I just wanted to point that out. So, yeah, let's go ahead and keep moving. All right, so the next part of this, before we get into that part, one more thing, we're going to take full advantage of this page right here. And we can see that those levels that I talked about. Here are some definitions. Here are those levels. We got the point of control, the profile high, the profile low, the value area. We also have the value area high and the value area low. So if you want to get access, if you want to see this page for yourself, which I highly recommend, to if you are not familiar with the volume profile already, to do your due diligence, go ahead and study that stuff and learn everything you can about it. I have a link right here that I will put in the description below, and you can check out this page for yourself, which looks like this. This is where I got it from. So there's much more information about the volume profile. They give a lot of information right here. So the link to this page will be in the description below. But I don't want to make this lesson or this session 2 hours long. So let's go ahead and keep it moving. All right. So there's basically two ways that you can use the volume profile, right? One way is either manually, and the other way is dynamically. All right. So what I mean by that is, but really is you can either draw it on there, yourself, or you can put an indicator on the chart where it just automatically, populates the volume profile without you just do it one time and then you just let it, do its magic, right? All right, so I'm gonna show you that within TradingView. I just have a simple chart here with no, no indicators or anything like that on it. It's just price and volume. So in TradingView, to get to your volume profile, what you would do is you'll go up here to your indicators and strategies. You go to volume profile, and then if you want to just draw it yourself on the chart, you'll pick fixed range. Go ahead and close that down. Now you see this little box right here that's showing you that you are using a you're drawing a tool on the chart. So let's say I just want to look at the volume profile from this little time period right here. All right, so what I do is I just click the ending time, or you could do it either way. I click the end time and the beginning time that I want to see the volume profile, and then to go ahead and load all the volume profile information for that time period that I selected, right? And you can see we have our point of control here, which is usually highlighted by either like a line or whatever platform or that you're using. They all have their own little differences, but this is TradingView, so this is how they put it. This is the volume, this is the point of control, right? And then your value area high, or your profile high will be up here, profile low, and so forth and so on. Now I'm not going to get, you know, super deep into all the terminology and all that stuff like I mentioned before, but you know, this is how you would draw it, you know, manually on TradingView. All right, so if you wanted to do it where it just automatically continues to populate and you don't have to keep drawing it over and over based off of, you know, whatever parameters, however you want to look at it. And then TradingView, I'm gonna show you TradingView, and then that's when we're gonna switch over to Sierra chart, because that's how I use it in Sierra chart. All right, so within TradingView, you'll go back to the indicators, volume profile, but this time you can either do session volume HD, and all that good stuff, right? You can play with these if you want to, but you can do session volume. Now that'll go ahead and populate it on your chart, right? And that's per session. You know, that's the one that I selected. In order to make adjustments and changes, you can right click on it and go to settings, and now you see you got the VPSV, which is volume profile session view, I guess. I don't really know. Anyway, this is where you can make edits to the indicator. Also, over here in the top left, you see this little number 2, or you see this number over here with like a little drop down. Click on that, and now you can make your edits. This will show you whatever indicators you have on the chart. There's a little section over here, and then you can go over here and click the little settings icon, and now you can change your settings that way, you know. So I'm not gonna go into all the settings and stuff over here in TradingView. You know, just to show you where it is. If you use TradingView and you want to, you know, play around with that, feel free to play around with it. I guarantee you can't break it, and you can always just exit things out and start over if you want to. All right, so let's go ahead and move over to Sierra chart. All right, so now we're at the main part of this lesson. All right, that was just a quick little introduction to volume profile and the different ways you can use it. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna show you how I set it up within Sierra chart. Sierra chart has a ton of settings, so I'm not gonna go over every single setting for the volume profile. I'm just gonna go over, you know, the key things that I look for, right? And I have my iPad right here to make sure that I hit on everything. So if I look right there, I'm looking at my iPad, right? All right, so what we're gonna do is basically I use the volume profile in 2 different ways on in Sierra chart. If I scroll left here, I can go ahead and delete all this stuff. I don't even, just to clean up the screen a little bit. I have the volume profile set for the entire session, right? For the entire day, or the entire session. And then also I have the volume profile set hourly. All right, so the one that I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how I set up the hourly volume profile. If you can set up the hourly volume profile, you can definitely set it up for the daily session. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into that. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into my studies, and actually nope, we're not gonna do it that way. All right, I'm gonna switch over to, you know, my other chart book, which is the NV3 Trader Classroom chart book. All right, I'm gonna switch over to this. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and go into my studies. Over here in the left, I'm gonna go and look for volume profile. I'm just gonna scroll all the way down to the bottom to the V's. And in Sierra chart, there is no indicator, you know, exactly called volume profile. It's gonna be volume by price, which is this one. They also have it broken down by, you know, different pieces of the volume profile, if you just want like certain pieces of it. But what I'm gonna use is the volume profile. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna add it to the bottom of this stuff. Just ignore all of the stuff up here. This just shows me, you know, my session breaks, and like this green highlight right here is the 9:30 to I think I got it to 5:30, and this yellow range would be like the last hour or whatever, but or the last few 30 seconds, the last 30 minutes, I believe it is. But so just anyway, you can ignore all of that. So we got the volume by price. I got that in there. I'm gonna go ahead and click apply and OK, and let that load in, so we can go ahead and get it loaded in and see what it looks like by default. Now that we got the volume profile loaded up, you can see this is what it just looks like by default. You know, it's not even, it's just showing what it's doing is showing the volume for everything that's on the that's on the screen right now for this time period that's actually been, you know, that's on the chart right now. So if I can remember how to zoom, yeah, that's how you do it. You see it changes. It only shows us the volume profile for the information that's on the screen right now, right? So let me go ahead and zoom back in. And I messed my chart up over here. It's all good because this is only for class for instructional purposes only. All right, so that's good enough. I'm looking at a 30-minute. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom into a 5-minute just to keep things nice and simple. Now we're looking at a 5-minute chart. I'm gonna go ahead and just zoom to the end, scroll to the end. All right, so this is our default volume profile setting. Of course, like I said before, I want to zoom in a little bit more just to clean up the charts a little bit. So, like I said before, all right, so what I'm gonna do is I want to make it look like, you know, my hourly's over here, right? I'm gonna set it up for hourly. So I'm gonna go back to our this is gonna be my NV3 Trader classroom whiteboard. Go ahead and bring that down. So I went ahead and screenshot all the settings over here. So we're just to make it real simple so I can just, you know, I have something to reference. But I'm going to move over to this, you know, put it over on my other monitor so I can see it as I do it, just to help the flow of everything. All right. So I'm going to go back to the studies, go to the volume profile, double click on it to open up the settings. All right. So the first thing I'm going to look at is, you know, make sure my draw mode is on volume profiles. All right. There's different options that you can pick in here. Right. But I want it as volume profiles. Right. All right, so the next thing I'm going to look at is the volume graph period type. Right now it's set to visible bars, which I mentioned earlier. You know, what we're seeing right here is based off of what we can currently see on the chart within this window. So the way that we're doing this, since it's going to be an hourly, since I'm basing it off every hour, right? I want to change this to multiple profiles based on fixed time, right? So go ahead and click that. All right, and you can see, so I'm gonna go ahead and apply, and you can see that it already changed. I haven't really set anything yet. It's still at its default settings. We're gonna get to that in a minute. So the next thing I'm gonna look at is the time period type for fixed time, which is right here. Time period type for fixed time. I'm gonna change that from days to minutes, right? And then below that, the time period length for fixed time, we're gonna change that to 60 minutes. Because 60 minutes make up 1 hour. All right, you know, simple math. We're gonna go ahead and click apply so we can see it. So now we can see we already have our hourly volume profile set up. All right, but there's still a couple more changes that a couple more settings that I want to put in here. All right, so the next thing that I'm looking at is the right align volume bars. And actually I don't use this one, but I just want to, you know, point this out. So I'm gonna go ahead and click OK on this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this. Go into just to illustrate this thing here, just to illustrate what I'm talking about. So for this one, I'm not gonna make it hourly. For this one, I'm gonna put it for the whole day. Just to illustrate the next point I'm about to make. And I'm gonna put my start time. I'm gonna put this at 1800 and let it end at 1700 because that is our futures time, our future session time. And then the next thing I'm going to look at is the right align volume bars. So let's say you know, over here I have the main one for the whole entire session. So but you know, I have it set right now on the left side, but if I wanted to set it on the right side, this is where I would do it right here at right align volume bars. And I just go ahead and click yes, and I click apply. And now you'll see that other one. I gotta close this out so we can see it. So now we can see that we have the volume profile for the complete session, the future session over here on the right side of the chart. So, you know, that's just, you know, I just, you know, wanted to add that in there just in case you were wondering how to put it on the right side, because by default it loads it up on the left. Also, and we'll show you, like, I can minimize this to where it doesn't spread out so far within the chart. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double click right. I'm gonna go back into the settings for this one, and I'm gonna go down to in the sea of settings. We can see that the volume profile within Sierra chart has a ton of settings. So, it can take a while to find what you're looking for sometimes. All right, so at the maximum volume bar width percentage, right now it's set at 70%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to 20%. Hit apply. And now it cleans up our chart a little bit. You can see it compacts the volume profile so it doesn't look so messy. What we don't want to do is we don't want to have our indicators on the chart so we can't even see the price and the candlesticks and the information that matters the most to us. All right, so anyway, I just wanted to show that real quick, how you can put it on the right, how you can put the volume profiles on the right side of the screen, as well as how you can minimize it and clean it up a little bit. All right, so we're gonna go back to into our studies, and I'm gonna delete this one. I'm gonna go ahead and remove that one to get that back out the way, and we're gonna go back to our hourly settings. All right, so the next thing we're gonna look at is the this right here, the value area POC, peak valley, based on total volume. And I just want to make sure that it's set to yes. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is, the way I have it set up, you see how the hourly, it kind of extends a little bit. So I'm going to go back and I'm actually use what I just showed you. I'm going to go to maximum volume bar width percentage, and I'm going to lower that over here. So I have it set at 50. I'm going to look at 40 and see what 40 looks like. All right, so we're going to set this one to 40 so I can actually, see my candlesticks a little better, right? And when this is live, like, you will see your current candlestick. It won't, the volume profile won't be in the way of the current candle that's forming. All right, just in case you were wondering. Since we're looking at a historical chart, it'll look more like what I have over here. You can see, like, we have the latest hourly volume profile, and then we have our candlesticks there. It won't get in the way of the current candlestick. All right, that's the point I was making right there. All right, so moving along, this video is getting like super long. Let me try to speed up the pace a little bit. All right, so the next thing I'm going to look at is the highlight value area. So I have it set at no right now, but if I wanted to, because I mentioned the value areas before, so if I wanted to, turn that on, and you can see once I turned that on, it highlighted the value areas. Also, you can extend it if you want. Let's say I want to extend it to the end of the window, the end of the period. It extended it to the end of that specific volume profile hour, and then the next hour is going to be a whole different thing, right? The reason why I pointed this out is because that's kind of how I have it set up for the session volume profile. All right, I don't have it set up like that for the hourly volume profile, but I do have it set up like that for the session volume profile, right? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that back to no, hit apply so we can clean that up, and go to none. Just want to clean it up a little bit. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna look at is my value area percentage. All right, so with that, that same thing, if you wanted to turn the percentage down, you can do it right there, just like how we turned the maximum volume bar width percentage. It's the same thing, but just for the value area right here. All right, so the next thing I'm going to go to is highlight point of control, which is right below it. And for this, I have it set to yes, because I want to see the point of control. Now, the point of control, I didn't mention it before, but it was in that page that TradingView has about volume profiles. But basically, the point of control is for whatever time period that you're looking at. That's where the max volume is, at that price level, right? So for this, I'm gonna have the highlight point of control. I'm gonna select yes to turn that on. So now you can kind of barely see it, that it lit up. So I'm gonna turn it off again. All right, so just watch this little area right here. I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna turn it off and then back on. All right, turning it off. Hit apply, and I'm gonna turn it back on. and boom, now you can see that the point of control area, or the POC, it is now it's highlighted so we can see it, right? Okay, all right, so the next thing we're going to look at is draw peaks and valleys. Okay, and for this, the way that I have it set up, on the hourly, I don't even think I use it on the hourly. All right, on the hourly, I don't really use it, but on the session volume profile, I do use it for that. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna click on, I want to see both peaks and valleys, so I'm gonna go ahead and select that. So it's valuable for me for the complete session, so I can see like throughout the whole trading session for the day, you know, where the value areas are, the peaks and the valleys. You can kind of look at this like a sideways mountain, right? So we have our peaks where we see a lot of the volume come in, right? Most of the volume at, you know, these certain levels. And then we have our valleys where we don't really have any volume at all, right? And you can adjust this. So below this right here, the peaks and valley sensitivity, right now I got it set at 10%, but let me just change it to 50% and hit apply. And now you can see that, you know, it becomes more sensitive now. It doesn't look at, you know, as many things before as it was for the peaks and valleys, right? So you can adjust this to, you know, whatever your preference is. I think for the session, I think I have mine set at 20% or 20 sensitivity. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna look at it real quick. Studies, future session. Go down here to okay, I have it set at 30. So I have the sensitivity for my session volume profile set at 30. That's just my personal preference. If you're gonna use it, play with it and see which one you like the most. All right, so moving along. Go back in here to the settings. And the next thing we're gonna look at is include high and low. So again, this is one of the settings that I find more valuable with my with the session volume profile. It's right here below the peaks and valleys sensitivity. Include high, low, and peaks and valleys. So, you know, I can go ahead and turn that on if I want to. All right, so now it shows us the high of this volume profile of the hourly and the low of the hourly, right? Just go ahead and turn that off and turn it back on so you can see it one more time. And it's back on, so you can see exactly what change happened right there. All right, and getting to the end of the settings that I look at. And so the last thing that I look at is extend peaks and valleys. All right, so I have that set at end of period, but you can also change it to something else like end of window or until further intersection. So what we're gonna do here, see right now we got it to end of period. So let's say I'm gonna go end of window, right? Just because we're using the hourlies, it's not gonna change right there. It's just gonna go to the next volume profile. All right, until future intersection. All right, so once it loads in those settings, now you can see like it just looks like a complete mess because we extended it and until further intersection. And it's just, we can see a bunch of lines. So I mean, maybe you can find some use in that, but for me that just looks like a lot of mess. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it back to end of period, and that's gonna clean it up. And to get it back to how I actually have the hourly, let me go ahead and turn off the peaks and valleys because I don't use that. Yep. And there we go. And that's how I set it up. So the rest of the settings, you know, you can play around with it if you want. There's a lot, you know, there's much more that you can do with it. You can, you know, have it, you know, really colorful. We look at our notes over here. You see there's some colors you can change for the POC. And, you know, there's some more settings in there that you can change. But those are the settings that I change. Now, like I said before at the beginning of this video, if you want me to go line by line and detail by detail, then I'm more than happy to make that video for you. But, you know, I don't think that doesn't seem like that'll be a very interesting video to make for, you know, personally. But if you want me to make that video, go ahead and leave a comment or let me know in the comment section below, and I will be more than happy to do that for you. All right. So also, if you want a copy of these settings, I'll probably just put these in the journal. So I'll just keep an eye on the journal, and then I'll figure out a way of how I'm going to put these settings. Maybe I save this. I will archive today's classroom session within the journal. If this is your first time, tuning in to my channel, the way that you access the journal that has a ton of impact is you just go on over to nv3trader.com. Right up here at the top, you can click the link right up here at the top that says journal, or you can go down here and click journal entries, click the icon, and this big red button on the journal page, you're going to click that button to access the journal, which is going to open up Notion. Now, you don't have to have Notion in order to see the journal, but I highly recommend that you get Notion because it's 100% free. And if you have Notion, you'll be able to, duplicate anything that I have within here, all the valuable content that I have within here, right? So this is how you get to the journal if you're not familiar with it already, where I have tons and tons and tons of valuable information in here, right? So getting back to the classroom lesson for today. All right, so for the next part of this, I'm just going to give you a little insight for how I use the volume profiles. All right, we're going to go ahead and close that down. We're going to go back over to my main trading window, and I'm just going to keep it right here. I trade off the 3-minute window primarily. I also look at other time periods, but just for the illustration of this classroom purposes today, you can see how I have my volume profile set up over here. Like I mentioned before, here's these lines are the peaks and the valleys of my future session volume profile, right? So the way that I use it, of course, I used my power range, and along with that power range, I use the Fibonacci extension. Now, I'm not going to take the time to draw the extensions in there because the way that I use the volume profile information is mostly for entry decisions. So if I'm looking left, because it's the same thing whether I have the fibs on there or not, I mostly use my fibs for like targets and stuff like that. But and of course, if you tune in to sound the bell every Mondays and Wednesday where I trade the NQ future session live, then you can see exactly how I use it in complete detail. But the way that I use the volume profiles is if I'm looking at price structure first. I'm always looking at price structure first. So if I'm looking left and I see some support, like right here we have that's horrible. That is horrible. Okay. Right here we have some support, that has formed right there. And let's say the current bar that I'm looking at is this one right here. Again, we're going to use our imagination, and all of this stuff over here doesn't exist. So we're just going to erase all of that with our imagination. Hashtag squiggly line. All right. And let's say, I see this stuff over here. I see the support over here, and I'm thinking that, the price could probably retrace back down to that support. I just want to delete this. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the volume profile to see if we actually have some volume there. Also, I'm going to look to see where the volume starts to taper off. As we can see right here, we start to right around in there. The volume starts to taper off a little bit. So I'm going to use all this information to kind of to fine tune where I want to place my trades. So I can also look at these previous hourly volume profiles, and that'll help me make a decision as well. So let's say I think we're going to retrace into that support. The volume profiles are giving me confirmation. They're also giving me a location to where I would want to place a trade. So let's say I'm seeing the volume we got a little bit of volume in here, and when it's live, you can kind of see it, start. You can see the volume, coming in, and where trades are happening, as the market is live. So when we have this valley, where these valleys coming in, I'm going to be looking into using these areas as places to place enter the trade. So I may place a a buy limit order right down there and let it trade down. And if it, if I get triggered in, that's awesome. I don't always get triggered in when I try to do that, as you can see from, when I trade live or from the journal, because I also record every single journal trading session, and I put that also in the journal. And then I make notes as well. So I take screenshots of what I'm seeing, and I explain everything in detail in the journal, and you can get detailed information about that. Let me stop promoting the journal. And so so what I'm saying is I apologize if this is like just way too long, but I can talk about this stuff all day clearly. So if I'm looking at the price, this trading up here, I think it's going to retrace, down to this support area that I looked at before, or that I recognized beforehand. And I'm going to use the volume profiles to kind of the snipe my entry location, to get to fine tune my entry location based off of where what price had the most volume, right? And of course it's not going to be perfect. Of course there will be it can you'll see where the price, you can see right here where the price had a lot of volume, a lot of trading happened at this a certain price level. But then the price, it traded down into that level, and it kept going a little bit before the bounce happened, and then we traded higher, right? So that's just a quick explanation of how I use the volume profiles within Sierra chart. It's a really simple strategy. It's not anything too. I like to keep my strategy as simple as I possibly can. All right, so that's basically how I use the volume profile in Sierra chart. I hope that makes sense. I hope I didn't ramble on a little too much and try not to be all over the place, but sometimes I just can't help myself. All right, so the next part of this, what I'm going to show is how the volume profile is set up within NinjaTrader 8, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and change screens. All right, so now we're over here in NinjaTrader. I'm going to go ahead and open this all the way up, and we go ahead and clean this window up as well. Now you probably won't be able to see it once I show it to you here, because NinjaTrader loads the information in on the chart when the market is actually live. It doesn't go back and load historical information like that. So it's a little different with NinjaTrader. But anyway, the way that you will put the volume profile indicator on the chart is you'll go right up here to indicators, this little icon for indicators. Click on that, and you will scroll down, of course, to the V's, because volume profile starts with V. Okay, and right here you can see it says volume profile. It'll show you the default settings over here, and then you'll go down to this window right in here, and you'll click add. Now I'm not going to do that because I already have it down here. Oh sure, why not? Let me go ahead. So you'll click add, and then you'll see it loads up in there. So that's the new one. Let me go ahead and remove that one. I don't need it on there twice. So now this is how you'll know that it's on the chart once it's in this configured box down here, and it'll have, you can adjust your settings over here in this right window, right? And for me, I keep all of the settings at the default within NinjaTrader, because I don't, the way that it's set up, it works. It gives me all the information that I need, in NinjaTrader, so I don't, even have to change anything at all. So I just keep it at the default settings for NinjaTrader, okay? Because I like to repeat myself. All right, so that's how you set it up in NinjaTrader, and then what it will look like. Let me go over to the journal, and let me pull up one of the, let's see if I took some good screenshots. All right, so you can see right here, this is what it looks like. This is my settings. I got my power range here, I got my fib lines here, and over here you can see we have the volume profile. This is what the volume profile, how it prints in the NinjaTrader platform. All right, so that basically that's everything that I wanted to cover about volume profiles within today's lesson. Let me check my iPad to make sure that I covered everything. I know you're probably tired of hearing me talk at this point, but yeah, okay, everything looks good. All right, so this concludes the lesson for today. If you found this valuable, if if this helped you in any way, shape, or form, go ahead and hit that like button. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. And you want to make sure that you do hit that like button, not for my purpose. I could go into, a little spiel about, how people misunderstand the like button and all that stuff within YouTube. But really what happens is whatever you like, YouTube is going to, do its best to continue to show you information like that because you liked it. It's more so for you than it is for the YouTuber. So don't think that I'm asking you to hit the like button for my purpose. It's really for you. So if you, and that's with anything you watch on YouTube, right? So anyway, if you found this valuable, go ahead and just hit the like button. So when I do post more information or more videos like this, it increases the chances that you will get notified. Hit that notification bell on, right next to that subscribe button. So after you hit that subscribe button, go ahead and slide on over and hit that notification bell so that, when I put more content out like this, you will get notified by the YouTube algorithm and you won't miss it. All right. So hope you enjoyed it, and I will holler at y'all on the next one. Trade it easy.